Alright everyone, it is Finn here and welcome to my Afcon Round 6 Qualifier predictions, also known as the final round of the Afcon qualifiers, meaning that this is the deciding round on who goes to Ivory Coast in 2024.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Obviously, we've got some fantastic games ahead. We've had some incredible games in the Afcon qualifiers so far, but of course, it all goes down to this, and I am so excited for it. As I said, we've got a lot of games, so I can't waste too much time. So jumping into game number 1 of round 6 of the Afcon qualifiers, we have Libya versus Equatorial Guinea. Now, of course, I do think Equatorial Guinea are the strong favourites here. I am going to go with a 1-0 win. Obviously, they picked up a 2-0 win in the reverse fixture, and I really can't fault Equatorial Guinea. I just think that they've had better qualifiers so far. I think they've been a lot better in recent years. And looking at the likes of Libya, once again, just compared to Equatorial Guinea, I just don't know if they have what it takes. So of course, first game of the video, Equatorial Guinea with a 1-0 win. Now, jumping into our second game, it is Angola versus Madagascar. Now, once again, another relatively easy prediction in my opinion, as I have to go with Angola with a 1-0 win. Looking at Madagascar, they can only come last place in their group, where Angola can still fight for first place in their group if other results go their way.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
And of course, because of that, I do think Angola will give it absolutely everything they've got. I think they've been really, really good throughout the qualifiers. And as I said, a 1-0 win just seems to fit them. Now, jumping into our third game, this is where things get a tiny bit more tricky, as we have the Black Stars of Ghana with the Central African Republic.
Shut up and take my money!
Now, of course, am I happy to do African videos again, because it means I can put Mohamed Kudus in the thumbnail? Maybe slightly so. And am I a bit too much of a Mohamed Kudus fan? Maybe once again, slightly so. But looking at the Black Stars of Ghana, I would be somewhat surprised if they didn't get the result here. Obviously, as we know, they haven't been that impressive throughout the qualifiers, but we know this African team, we know this Black Stars of Ghana team, what they have in terms of the players, obviously under Chris Hughton. I still feel like they have a lot to show, and I am worried that they haven't shown it yet before the competition. But obviously, looking at Ghana, 3 draws and 2 wins in their last 5 games doesn't sound that incredible, but I do think they'll get the result this time with a 2-1 win. As I said, I think on the attacking front, they've really shown a lot of promise. Defensively, they just need to pick up a few things. And versus a serious underdog in African football, like the Central African Republic, who has potential to take points from absolutely anyone, it won't be easy, but I have to back Ghana. Now, next up, we've got Niger versus Uganda. Once again, another potentially super close one. Looking at Niger, though, 0 wins this entire tournament.
We're all disappointed. We spoke in the dressing room. Obviously, I'm here because I have to be here.
And I am slightly worried for them because that's not a good omen to have. Look at the likes of Uganda. Once again, they've got the same goal difference as Niger, although Niger have 0 wins. So once again, has potential to be a close one, and I am going to go with a 0-0 draw. Once again, I've realized a lot in African football over the last year or two that because competition can be so tight, that there are a lot of draws, and I do think this will be our first of the video. Now, next up, we've got Algeria versus Tanzania. Now, looking at Algeria, they are, believe it or not, the only African team in qualifiers to have a perfect record, to have 0 losses and 0 draws, winning 5 from 5 games. I mean, you have to back a team like that, no matter what Tanzania look like. Obviously, Algeria won the reverse fixture 2-0, and I think they'll pick up a very comfortable 3-0 win this time around. Now, going from one super African giant to another, we have Tunisia. And obviously, looking at Tunisia, as we know on their day, absolutely brilliant team. Versus Botswana, though, once again, it could be close. It was a 0-0 draw last time around. But Tunisia, only conceding 1 goal throughout qualifiers and scoring 8, they definitely seem to be the better team. And I think they'll pick up a relatively close 1-0 victory. Now, next up, we've got Egypt versus Ethiopia. Once again, when it comes to African football, you can never underestimate Egypt. As we know, the most successful team in Afcon history, so in the qualifiers, you would hope they can do something special here. Saying that though, the last time they faced Ethiopia, things weren't that promising. They lost 2-0. But other than that, they've been brilliant throughout qualifiers. The big question is, will history repeat itself? While I do think this time around, it will be in Egypt's favour with the 2-1 win. Last time, I think the reason they lost to Ethiopia is they didn't have many of their star players. They were out injured or for other reasons, weren't in the squad. Even the likes of Mo Salah wasn't included. So I do think now that a lot of top players are back in the squad, once again, I'd be surprised if Egypt didn't take it. Now, next up in our next game, we've got Burkina Faso versus Eswatini. Once again, relatively easy prediction in my opinion with the likes of Burkina Faso, and they should pick up a 2-1 win. Don't get me wrong, I do think Eswatini on their day, once again, I'm a Southern African. I'd love for Southern African nations to do well. I'd like to think that they could deliver on their day, but once again, looking at the likes of Burkina Faso, we've seen a lot in the past from them. They won the reverse fixture 3-1, and I think they'll get another victory this time around. Now, next up, we've got Mali versus South Sudan. Once again, we've seen a lot of really good competition so far this tournament, and I do feel like this time around we could see another top quality team with Mali. Once again, looking at them with the likes of Czech Decore in the midfield. I think he's an absolute beast of a defensive midfielder, and I do think Mali has been absolutely superb throughout this competition. Once again, very strong victory in the reverse fixture, and I think they'll get another strong victory here with the 2-0 win. I think in terms of a team who could be the biggest surprise at Afcon 2023, I do think Mali could be that team. Attacking wise, they've got brilliant players, defensively as well. Once again, I expect big things.
That's what she said.
Now, next up, we've got Mozambique versus Benin. Now, I do think Benin could potentially Benin in big trouble. Does that work as a joke? Not really. I do think Benin could be in big trouble here, as Mozambique did obviously win the reverse fixture. But this time around, I do think Benin probably will take it. I think looking at the group so far, I know you can't just read everything off of stats, but they have conceded less goals in the group and they have scored more. So I kind of back Benin here. Once again, Mozambique on the day can deliver, but I do think Benin will take this one 1-0 and it will be incredibly close. Now, next up, we've got Malawi versus Guinea. Once again, I do like Malawi. I think on their day, especially in the previous tournament, they had their moments. But once again, looking at Guinea, they just seem to be a far better team, winning 3 out of their 4 games so far. We're looking at Malawi once again on the attacking front. I don't know if they'll be able to cope. I think Guinea will win this one, and they'll get a very strong 2-0 win. Now, next up, we've got Mauritania versus Gabon, and I'm going to give this a straight 1-1 draw.
Boring.
I think both teams have been very, very similar in terms of how they've played in qualifiers so far, really matching strength for strength and weakness for weakness, if that makes sense. And once again, we've seen a lot from both of these two teams, so I am going to go for a draw here. I do feel like either of them could get the points. Now, next up, we've got the DRC versus Sudan. Once again, last time we saw this fixture, it was relatively exciting. We did have a 2-1 win in Sudan's favor. But this time around, I think I'm going to go for the DRC. I've just seen a lot from their individuals over the last year or two. I think Visa, once again, I've mentioned many times for Brentford, has been an absolute beast. And looking at DRC, they are currently top of their group and Sudan bottom of their group. But saying that, it is only 3 points that change everything.
Showtime.
So saying that, come the end of the match week, DRC could go from 4th place to 1st in their group. But as I said, I just back the DRC and I think they'll take it. Now, next up, we've got the hosts of the competition with Ivory Coast versus Lesotho. Once again, I'd love for a Southern African nation to do well, but looking at Ivory Coast, I think they've got just so many star players and they've got such a strong team. I would be surprised if they didn't take this one 3-1. I do think they'll end up conceding though, because defensively they haven't been that sharp this competition. We saw that versus Zambia in their previous qualifier game, that they really can slip up. And they have made silly mistakes here or there. But once again, Ivory Coast, we know the capability of Cote d'Ivoire, and they should take a very convincing 3-1 win. Now, talking about convincing, next up we've got the winners of the previous Afcon with Senegal versus Rwanda. And to me, there's just no competition here. It should be Senegal, and it could be one of the biggest wins of this qualifier group stage. Obviously, look at the likes of Senegal. Last time they played Rwanda, they only won to a penalty by Sadio Mane in like the 98th minute. But this time around, I do think players like Sadio Mane have a lot more confidence. He's doing very well in the Saudi League. I think Ismail Sarr's got a lot more confidence. I think the likes of Sarr for Tottenham Hotspur in the midfield definitely look strong, and I just see a lot more confidence in the Senegalese team in general, and as I said, might be the biggest win of this match week, and I'm going to go for a 4-0 victory here. We'll have to wait and see. Now, once again, going from one African nation that was at the previous World Cup to another, and in fact the nation that made it the furthest in the competition, with Morocco versus Liberia.
I'm Liberian.
Now, of course, as we know, Morocco need to get a result here if they want to win the group overall. And I mean, as a South African, as much as I would like to win the group, I do think Morocco will get all available points here with a 2-1 win. Look at the Moroccan national team. No, they obviously didn't get the win versus Bafana, but in all fairness, they weren't playing their best players. They were playing very much a second team, in my opinion. And versus Liberia, with the quality in this Moroccan team, I expect nothing less than a 2-1 win. Now, next up, we've got the Comoros Islands versus Zambia. Once again, Comoros Islands, another team that did very well in last competition's installment. But at the end of the day, looking at Zambia, especially after that performance versus Cote d'Ivoire, on the attacking front, they were just so sharp, defensively so lethal, and I have to give them a very strong 2-0 win. And talking about very strong attacking performances, we've got Nigeria versus Sao Tome and Principe next. This game ended 10-0 last time they played against each other. Double digits on the score sheet. I mean, absolutely embarrassing, that performance that Nigeria displayed versus Sao Tome and Principe, or how embarrassed they made Sao Tome and Principe. And this time around, I don't think it will be as humiliating, to be honest. I think now that Nigeria have done so well in their group, they might experiment a tiny bit more, but I think they'll at least get a 6-0 win. I mean, they have some of the best attacking players in world football at the moment. I mean, it really is a superstar-studded team. I guess that's why they call the Super Eagles. And yeah, as I said, I think a 6-0 win almost sounds generous, to be honest with you, in Sao Tome's favour. Now, next up, we've got a very close game with Togo versus Cape Verde. Now, looking at Togo, I do think it is a team that has some brilliant individuals, and I would almost say better individuals than Cape Verde. But one thing that does win it in my favour for Cape Verde is the fact that I think they play better as a team. We've seen that in recent competitions, that when they play together up front, they can be totally lethal. I think a bit of discipline did let them down in the previous competition, but I do think they should get the victory here with a 1-0 win. Now, next up, our third last game of the video with Gambia versus Congo. Now, once again, I do really love both of these two teams. I think Gambia probably is the better team defensively. Obviously, Congo need a win here if they want to make it over Gambia and qualify for the tournament. But if Congo want to qualify, they have to win by 5 or more goals.
Yeah, I could.
Which, once again, even if they win, I don't see it being that amount. I think both teams will give it their absolute everything, and I do think it will be a 1-1 draw. Will be very, very close, and I just don't think Congo will make it through. But of course, jumping into our second last game of the video, we have Guinea-Bissau versus Sierra Leone. Once again, two absolutely brilliant teams who give it their absolute all, and I think this could be a very, very close one. It was a 2-2 draw last time they played against each other. Look at Sierra Leone though, one thing that does worry me is they've conceded 9 goals in 5 games, and both teams scoring 9 goals in 5 games. Once again, that defensive record is the barrier for me in terms of who will take the result here. As much as I could go for a 1-1 draw, I do think I have to go for the likes of Guinea-Bissau with, and once again, it's very, very difficult, but I'm going to put a 2-1 result. Anything could happen here. But of course, that does take us to our final game of the video. Once again, I know I speak very fast-paced throughout these videos, but as we have so many games to talk about, it's really the only way I can do this. But we have Cameroon versus Burundi. Now, of course, believe it or not, the winner takes all here. If Burundi beats Cameroon, Cameroon are not going to the competition. The nation that beat Brazil in the 2022 World Cup will not be going if Burundi win here. Of course, with everything on the line, I am worried for Cameroon. They have not done well in qualifiers, especially versus nations like Namibia, who you would really expect the results again. I do think things could be tremendously close here, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to back the likes of Cameroon with a 2-1 win. I've spoken about how brilliant their team is, although I do think they are missing the likes of both Joel Matip and Andre Onana. At the end of the day, they can put together some really strong performances. I think Mpuemu's absolutely tearing things up in the Premier League at the moment. Vincent Abubakar, as we know, can still be super, super lethal. And Guiza, so on and so forth. The team is absolutely brilliant and should pick up, I'm going to go with a 2-0 win. I think they're going to be very, very strong. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my Afcon Round 6 qualifier predictions. As I said, it is the final round, so whatever happens in this round decides absolutely everything. Of course, if you disagree with anything I said down below, which people normally tend to do so, do let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Until next time, this is Finn, FYWN. Cheers.